Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be reviewing
Legion.
Legion. Yeah, Legion Chapter 7. I mean, it's a fat episode. I mean, the very artistic in the sense that, the first episode we had a bit of a song and dance and stuff like that, and the kind of stuff like that in the episode. There has been like little tidbits where it's kind of taken away, and there's been artistic moments. If you can remember last episode, you had obviously Lenny doing her little dance thing, and you had like the different screens and transitions and the air humping for you have forgotten. So in this kind of episode, there's a bit of that in there as well. So I mean, following on from last episode, they're kind of, you got David trapped wherever he is, and you've got, finally they kind of come out and name the beast, the Shadow King, Farouk. I forget his first name, whatever, Farouk, the Shadow King.
Yeah.
So we called it here first, if you can recall. If you go back, we called it here first. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what I thought of it. I'm still. I remember when we first brought it up, I thought it would be the Shadow King, and then I thought, no, they're not actually going to do it. They wouldn't. But they have, and they went full on. I mean, it's not even like you can call it like an adaptation where they've changed it. It's literally the Shadow King from the comic books. That scene, which we'll get to in a minute, where they explain who he is literally verbatim. You could have ripped it from the comic book, and it's cool. I think it's clever. I think they worked out a smart way of having Aubrey Plaza kind of play the character as well. I think she's rocking it. So it's a way of having your cake and eating it too. So yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I mean, they're kind of still semi-trapped in the nightmare. You've got Cary, because the guy's called Kerry and the girl's called Cary.
Okay.
So you got her still running away from the eye, kind of very sinister, kind of horror-esque. You've got like dark corridor running down, him following her, whistling. You got the flashes of the red left and right. So she's kind of doing her thing. You've got obviously Kerry, the guy. He's with Oliver now, and Oliver's kind of sat him down and explained everything. And then obviously there was the obvious. So yeah, because of course the cute little beagle's called King. How did I not know? So yeah, and obviously they're kind of safe in the astral plane. So they're kind of, he's kind of got Cary and is like, look, this is our plan. We've got to get David in a position where he can fight back. At the moment he's trapped, he's screwed. But obviously Cary in the previous episode obviously invented the little headband, which is going to kind of get him together mentally. So he's got to kind of get in a position to get that onto the head of the actual David. But before that, is kind of got to rally all the people together in the room. So obviously he went and took the headphones off Sydney.
Right, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, is this not where we ended up last week?
Yeah. So it was just like, obviously last week you had at the end him come in, take the earphones off and kind of do that, but obviously the start of this episode, the first 10 minutes, was obviously the kind of when obviously Cary had his dream and woke up in the astral plane. That's where he went from there to put him in a position where he kind of took the earphones off her, which was the end of last episode. So he kind of has a talk with her, says, look, we've kind of got to rally everyone together. I mean, we're all stuck in this kind of hospital dream, but really, like, time's frozen in reality. You're in the room, we've got to be in a position to kind of deflect the bullets so you're not killed as soon as David gets in control and time starts again. So, I mean, David's still locked in his little coffin, so she kind of gets some glasses off him, because I mean the hospital thing's a kind of nightmare. It's like you're going around, there's all the people like in David's head like screaming at you, so kind of the glasses give you a view of what the kind of reality is, where there's none of that in the way, so there's no distractions. So she gets a pair and then she's kind of rallying. That's when she bumps into Cary, the girl, gives the glasses, and obviously the eye's still chasing her, that waste man. So,
Oh, literally, we'll get to that later. But if I have one issue of the show, it's going to be that. Go on.
well, yeah, because, well, I mean,
We'll get to it
yeah.
in the end.
So, yeah, obviously the woman's teamed up with him. She's kind of still in the room with Cary, and they're trying to like change things in the present time, kind of still trying to shove him, even though that's not quite working out. But obviously with Cary back in that time, he manages to get the headband, and then it kind of flashes back to David, and he's kind of panicking in his little cell, and then he turns around, there's like English David, who's like, yo, I'm your rational mind, let's piece this together. I mean, I thought this scene was sick. So they kind of teleport into a classroom, and you've got him, and then it kind of gives the whole explanation of kind of what's going on. I mean, you get a little flash as well of a little wheelchair. Anyone who noticed that?
This scene was, I'm not to, at the same time we're doing this, we're reviewing Iron Fist. If you want to see a difference between good writing and bad writing, this is it in one.
I mean, this is excellent even for a first season. This is damn solid.
But even the entire show is great. But I'm talking just this scene in itself. What is it really? It's a massive a plot dump, right? It's all expository dialogue explaining what the hell this show is and what this whole thing has been, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And what could be a scene in another show where you sit down for 10 minutes thinking, yeah, okay, we got all this now, we know it, why you're hitting us over the head a bit, blah blah blah. They've done that, but they've made it fun. They brought in the imagery, it's kind of the arty stuff. They're playing up between the two Davids. It's a fun scene, and you know now if anyone was lost by this point, presumably there are people watching the show who have no idea who the Shadow King is.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Yeah. So I mean, it completely tied up that. I mean, obviously, as we've kind of said through the show, there have been confusing bits. It is kind of jumbled and stuff like that. But this is just like, if you are kind of up to this point, kind of lost and are still kind of confused about a couple things, this is going to set you on the right path. So it gives you a kind of rundown of the Shadow King, obviously fighting with his dad, then kind of dissipates, and then obviously he goes in, possesses the young David, so he can ultimately like destroy the world, I guess. So yeah, they've got to kind of figure out a way to obviously stop him. So he kind of realizes, he kind of breaks out of his coffin, gets back into kind of modern day, well, where he kind of needs to be, and then is still kind of stuck because he's kind of going through different rooms and still ending up in the first room. So he's still trying to gather his bearings. I mean, they've all teamed up together in the kind of hospital, and that's kind of, they've got to distract Lenny long enough for them to kind of whack the thing on the head. So kind of Lenny kind of confronts them, as it were, and it kind of moves on to a kind of I mean, at the same time, David kind of finds his way, so it's like telekinesing all the doors and stuff like that and blowing up the hallway. And then obviously Lenny's like it kind of goes into a kind of silent movie thing where she's kind of taunting them. She kind of gets the eye, crushes him up, which I thought was...
I mean, yeah, it was, but the silent movie thing again was cool. Another thing is, you know, experimenting with the style, and basically it's kind of like a horror film, you know, one of the old Dracula's, Nosferatu, whatever you want to call it. That was badass. Here's my thing though, is with the eye, assumably being dead now.
Yeah.
Like,
mullered.
There was really nothing to him.
Yeah,
I still don't know like what was the point.
Oh really?
That's I love the show. I mean, it's not going to distract me, but if I have one real criticism of the characters of the thing, it would be that like I don't really get what the Ice thing was throughout the show. I don't get what his powers were. I don't get what the point was really.
I think it was just kind of like a real world threat. You know what I mean? A threat to everyone else before obviously the Shadow King could materialise. Because I mean, his kind of like, you know, leader of Division 3 who are like the mutant killers, and they have to get David away from them so they can kind of assess him and sort out the kind of before the kind of Shadow King properly like.
Maybe it's just me being naive, but I always thought there was something else coming with that, like there'll be more to it, but
Who knows? Maybe he's not dead, but I mean, for all intents and
Maybe.
purposes, he gets crumpled. The CGI, the CGI was pretty sick, and then in like the real world, his like face is all bleeding. Then it kind of flashes to the telekinetic guy, who's kind of they show his kind of transition. I mean, if you didn't realise he was the one drooling in like last episode, they kind of show that for some reason. Didn't really get the importance of kind of showing that, but I mean, whatever.
That's got to come back around in the finale. 'Cause I don't really understand what the point was otherwise. Because of that group, he's the one we kind of seen the least of. Isn't it? He's the dude that like threw the door off and whatnot.
Yeah, the eye kind of, it's interesting because the eye kind of took him out in the house and then he kind of melted. So whether kind of the eyes put himself into that, and now obviously because his normal body's been crushed, maybe he comes back as a
That's interesting.
maybe
Okay.
he comes back as a telekinetic guy because obviously he's got no host to move back to because it's been crushed. That'd be interesting. So yeah, they managed to kind of get the headband on David, and then there's like the kind of Oliver gets knocked out, he gets splattered across the room. It was kind of interesting because you had the kind of cool scene where he was kind of playing like the cello or whatever, or piano, and it was kind of, that was like the distraction. Then Lenny pops like back in, manages to get the headband, time starts again, catches all the bullets, plop plop plop. Because I thought he caught all the bullets in the back for a moment. I got worried there, but then I was thinking, I guess he'll just heal or something like that. But no, he's kind of got the bullets in his hand, magic trick, and then it kind of flashes to light. They teleport back to Summerland, or wherever it is. They're kind of walking along. Obviously, the telekinetic guys like stretch it out, and they're kind of making their way back there. Everyone's like together. Cary's a bit annoyed at Cary because he kind of abandoned her when she needed him, even though it's like, look, it weren't my fault. I'd be like, yo, I got teleported away. It's like, what could I have done? There's really nothing he could have done. So she's kind of pissed at him. Oliver's back, everything's kind of cool. David's like, I'm not bothered with his sister, that kind of, she didn't tell him about being adopted or whatever. So yeah, and then like at the end they're walking, and then they get surrounded by soldiers, and like Oliver's like got his hands up and is like having a drink and stuff like that. And then the guy from like the first episode who was interrogating him, who he dashed against the wall and obviously I presume went up in fire when he escaped, he comes back, half burned face, you know what I mean? So I guess he's kind of taken over Division 3 now.
Yeah, I'm still kind of, I stand by what I said before. I'm still kind of waiting to figure out what is Division 3 really, and what is the. I mean, I guess they want to control David, but kind of what for? I presumably we'll find out tomorrow. But then at the very end is
next week.
The Shadow King breaks out again, right? So.
Yeah, because it had kind of Aubrey Plaza, Farouk or whatever, trapped in the place that David was trapped, and then it's kind of freaking out like David was and smacking against it, and then like a crack appears.
Yeah, so is the Shadow King going to go on another rampage? I mean, I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of covered all the plot points. I thought I liked the little artistic things, the silent movie, the kind of stuff like that. I liked the way it kind of explained everything, got it out the way. So now it's just literally no confusion, no whatever. It's just going to be whatever happens in the last episode. Obviously, there's obviously the thing of, they've all been captured by soldiers. They've given the kill order, whatever. So, I mean, whether the kind of Shadow King escapes there and then and mullers all the soldier or whatever, who knows? But I mean, let's talk numbers.
I'm gonna go with a 9. I think it's amazing how this show has covertly become full-on comic book. Like, I remember watching the first episode because I thought it was damn good, but I'm thinking, okay, this is cool, but it has nothing to do with the X-Men, really. And then you get to this episode, and it might actually be the most X-Men thing I've ever seen in live action. Like, even I love the movies, but even more than the movies, essentially we had quasi Charles Xavier fighting the Shadow King in the astral plane as explained by Legion. Well, that's crazy. But it's badass. I loved it. So 9.
Damn straight. I'm with you, man. It's got to be a 9. I think it's going to be a strong finish. I mean, through the whole of the season, there hasn't really been a dull moment. I like the fact they've kind of had it as 8 episodes. They've had everything in there. There hasn't really been a moment where you're like, come on then. You know what I mean? Let's get on with it. I mean, 8 episodes is solid. They've crammed a lot into there. It's been great. There's little experimentation there with the different styles. I think it handled the kind of mental health stuff earlier on really well. So I'm excited to see the finale. Hoping it don't drop the ball. Hoping it's a strong finish.
Yeah, and I don't think it will, because even, you said it wasn't a slow moment. And I agree, I don't think it was. But even last week, that bottle episode, with what they've done this week, you see why they did it. It's perfectly well paced, perfectly well done, and I can't wait for next week.
It's going to be big, yo. It's going to be a big finish. And we'll see you there. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And this has been the Superhero Hub. See you in the next episode.